How's it going, everyone? I'm Joey Wilhelm, or Jodek YT, Jodek White, whatever you want to call me. I don't really care. But this video is about if you're wanting to join, start up Muay Thai, really whatever you want to do. I guess what I was trying to say is this video is if you're thinking about joining a gym, a martial arts gym. It doesn't really even have to be Muay Thai. It could be boxing, it could be MMA. You know, I feel like one of the biggest things that happens is people kind of psych themselves up. And I certainly did when I first joined my gym. I thought that the very first day I was going to just be all out sparring, could possibly get knocked out. And that's just not the reality of most good gyms. It's going to be paced at what level you're at. And so right away I would tell you, just take a deep breath. It is not as serious as you think it is, because when you step inside, you'll find that most of the people are just like nerdy kids who have grown up. I don't know, it's weird. It's almost like you meet a whole bunch of different sorts of outcasts I don't know. Fighting gyms bring in a very specific sort of people that you can only really recognize once you get into the sport, and just like, especially at competitions and stuff, you just see the same sort of people, and it's very funny, and also I find very awesome. For the most part, it's a very welcoming environment and filled with nice people. The people who are usually assholes, I don't know, they're usually in specific gyms and they all like bunch together, and then I don't know, they're just losers, to be completely honest. But anyways, one thing I feel like people also think is you need a big gym bag, you need these nice boxing gloves, you need it all. And that's just not a reality. Most gyms will have a pair of gloves for you or some sort of beginner gloves. This is one thing where I will warn you, the gloves usually are very stinky, and to be quite honest, not everyone would want to put those things on. So if there was one thing I would recommend before you try out a free class, whatever you're planning on doing, maybe go and pick yourself up a pair of some cheap boxing gloves. It doesn't really matter what size. These are 12-ounce gloves. If you think you want to spar, I would recommend 16. Not that you're going to spar at first. You shouldn't be sparring within, I don't know, maybe 3 months minimum or something like that. I'm not a coach, so I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what's best for you. But anyways, if you do plan on fighting or doing some sort of competition where you will be sparring eventually, then maybe pick up some 16-ounce. But if you're just doing it for fitness, you could get the cheapest pair of gloves. And to be quite honest, depending on what sort of person you is, they might be better than the gloves that they hand out and just give you to try. Mainly because those gloves will really stink. I cannot emphasize it enough. Those gloves are full of a bunch of people's different hand sweats throughout years of trial classes. So if there's one thing I'd recommend, like I said, get a pair of cheap boxing gloves. They're at Walmart. They're at all these cheap stores. When I first went, I got some Walmart Everlast gloves. They aren't good gloves at all, but I would much rather have spent that 20 or whatever it was on the gloves than to smell those gloves on my hands. It's very nasty. But besides that point, one thing I will say, after doing this for just under 2 years, I'd say, and I've competed, I've gone to national tournaments. I haven't done it all in the sport, but I've done quite a bit so far in the 2 years, or under 2 years. I guess, where are we at? Maybe 2 or 3 months from now it will be 2 years of me in the sport. And basically you just learn a lot about yourself through the failure, the struggle. There's been many days where I was not feeling good and debating if I even wanted to go to the gym. And after I went to the gym, I felt a lot better about myself and my day in general. That could just be my personal experience, but I guess that's what I'm talking about, right? So it could be different for you, and that's completely fine. But I would say everyone should try it out, because seeing how you react to any sort of failure or struggle, I feel like is really beneficial for you. And this could be like, for instance, one of my friends, my good friend Jacob, he was trying out a trial class, like what we're talking about here. And at the beginning of each class at my gym, we jump rope for 5 minutes. That sounds a lot easier than it is for a lot of people, to be completely honest. A lot of people cannot jump for a whole 5 minutes of jump rope. It's hard to keep the rhythm. It's hard to keep bouncing up. By the end, your cardio's worked, your legs are worked. If you don't do it, then you're gonna be struggling from just jump rope. And I know it sounds silly on here, but it is hard to do. And I remember like just seeing his face, and I could tell he was struggling, but he pushed through it towards the end. And by the end, he's talking about how amazing it was and how much he loved it. And I'm sure there was many other times where I couldn't even tell, and he was probably hiding his feelings inside. I know it's weird because it's a big part of fighting, how you suppress how you're feeling inside because you don't want your opponent to get any advantage on you. But I mean, the amount of times where you're doing that just in the gym, where it's not entirely necessary, to be honest. I mean, if it's a good gym environment, I'd say it's not entirely necessary, because you will struggle and you will be hurting and stuff will be burning. You'll be aching the next day. That's just part of the journey of Muay Thai / just fighting in general. It is very hard, and it's hard if you make it hard. That being said, if you're just doing like a beginner class and you're working shadow boxing, you're working on a heavy bag, you might be holding pads with a partner or hitting pads with someone else, depends on where you are in the world, you will struggle to the point where your brain is going to question whether you want to go on. And I feel like that is the biggest point I can make, that is such a big deal about martial arts, is it constantly takes you to that point and pushes you to a different point exactly like it. And I mean, there's still times where it happens to me where I get humbled and I get checked by that time where in my head it's like, you sure you want to keep doing this? You sure you want to keep kicking this bag over and over again? You're really running out of energy here and feeling like you can't go any longer. And then when you push beyond that point, you get a sort of satisfaction that I don't think is possible any other way than doing that very thing that I just mentioned. And I feel like that's very good for a lot of people in helping boost their morals and showing to themselves like, hey, I can do it. Because I feel like if there was one thing I struggled, especially before I joined my gym and started training and doing all this stuff, is you want to do all these things in life, right? You want to make it big and whatever that means to you. Some people, it's just getting a job in general. Like it could be a big corporate job or something. It could be being some sort of YouTuber or streamer or TikToker. We have so many different versions that we want to see of ourselves. But in a way, you almost feel like it's unachievable. Like it's not meant for you. And like you can't push beyond whatever perceived limitations you place upon yourself. And I feel like that's one thing that martial arts does through just hard work. You just have to show to yourself that you can push beyond these self-perceived limitations and just get to work. And I don't know, it's incredible how it can continuously do that. And even if you don't want to fight, even if you try it for a month and you're like, all right, I'll just stick with the weights, I'll stick with runs, whatever you do for conditioning, because you should be doing something to exercise. And I'm not going to judge you if it's something that most people think is lame. I mean, like, we're all our own people, you know? So if you go and try it out and push yourself and show that you can go beyond that point, I feel like that is the biggest thing. And overall, the best trophy, the best belt, whatever you want to call it, that will help you so much in life compared to anything else. I don't know what else to say. Kind of went on a tangent here for whatever reason. I'm just yapping to my phone right now. It's very uncomfortable. But I love y'all. Thank you for all the people who support. You know, I hope everyone has a good day, and hopefully this helps someone. If it helps one person, it was worth it. Deuces.